I didn't lose my marriage overnight, it fell apart piece by piece. And by the time she brought up an open marriage, I knew we were already done. But if you're curious how it all went down, stick around, this story gets messy. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you're ready for this roller coaster of a life story. If you'd seen us 5 years ago, you'd probably think we had it all. Justina and I were a team, partners in marriage, parenting, and everything life threw at us. We worked together, supported each other, and we had this rhythm that just worked. But then Caleb was born. Don't get me wrong, becoming a dad was the best thing that ever happened to me. But what no one really tells you is how much it changes your relationship. Parenthood, it's amazing, but it's also overwhelming. And for us, it became this dividing line we didn't see coming. At first, I thought it was just the usual stuff, sleepless nights, work stress, trying to balance it all. I was busy with my career, trying to make sure we had everything we needed. Justina was the same, throwing herself into her job to keep moving up the ladder. But somewhere along the way, we stopped being partners. And started being, I don't know, co-workers in a household. The spark that brought us together just wasn't there anymore. It wasn't one big fight or anything like that. It was like we were drifting apart bit by bit, without even noticing. I used to tell myself it was normal. New parents are always tired, right? Schedules get crazy, and you stop having time for each other, it happens. That's what I kept telling myself. But then Justina started staying late at work. At first, I didn't think much of it. She had deadlines and important projects. But then it became every night. She'd text me that she was running late, and Caleb would already be asleep by the time she got home. We had a nanny who helped out, but it felt wrong, you know. Like our family time was just slipping away. I'd wait up for her most nights, hoping we could at least talk or spend a few minutes together. But when she came home, she'd be exhausted or distracted, always on her phone or wrapped up in something else. I'd try to start a conversation, but it felt like talking to a wall. She'd give short answers, like she didn't have the energy or didn't care. After a while, I stopped trying. What was the point if it always ended the same way? The thing is, it wasn't just the late nights. It was the way everything changed. She brushed off questions about the future, like where we were heading or what we wanted for Caleb. Those conversations used to excite us, planning, dreaming. Now it was like she didn't even want to think about it. And then came the arguments. At first, they were about little things, chores, schedules, stuff every couple argues about. But they started feeling heavier after each fight. The silence would drag on longer and longer. We'd just go through the motions, work, Caleb, bed, repeat. It felt like living with a stranger. And the worst part, I didn't know how to fix it. It all came to a head one night, and honestly, I can't even remember what started it. Something small, like whose turn it was to pick Caleb up from the nanny or what we'd have for dinner. It was one of those everyday things couples argue about. But this time, it didn't end like the usual little spats. This one blew up. Justina said she felt trapped. That word hit me like a slap. Trapped, in our marriage, in the life we built together. It didn't make sense to me. We'd worked so hard to get to where we were, a house, a stable life for Caleb. Sure, it wasn't perfect, but trapped. I was stunned. This wasn't the woman I married. I asked her what she meant. I wasn't yelling, I was trying to understand. But she kept saying things that made it harder to listen. She said the life we had was suffocating her, that she felt like she'd lost herself. She called our routine boring and said she wasn't happy anymore. And all I could think was, when did this happen? How did I miss this? The argument kept spiraling. I tried to stay calm, to reason with her. I told her we could work on it, take a trip, spend more time together, go to therapy, whatever it took. But she just shook her head, like I didn't get it. She said she needed more than I could give her. Hearing that hurt more than I could admit at the time. It was like she'd already decided our marriage wasn't worth fixing. And then she said it, the words that turned my stomach. What if we tried an open marriage? At first, I thought I'd misheard her. I asked her to repeat it, and she did. Calmly, like she was asking if we should order pizza for dinner. She said it could save us, that letting each other explore would bring excitement back into our lives. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Explore, I asked her, you mean sleep with other people? My voice wasn't calm anymore, I was angry now. How could she think that was the answer? I told her to stop talking and throw that idea out of her head immediately. But she just stood there, looking at me like I was the unreasonable one. And the way she said it, there was no hesitation in her voice, no shame. She actually argued for it, saying it was the modern thing to do. All I could feel was disgust. How could she even suggest this to me, to us? I rejected the idea outright, no hesitation, no compromise. I told her I wasn't interested in that kind of marriage, not now, not ever. She shrugged it off, like my answer didn't even matter. And that, I think, hurt the most. The way she acted like this was already a done deal, and I was just the last to know. When a woman starts acting like that, you don't need to catch her cheating, trust me, you already know. The day Justina brought up the open marriage, I knew she was either already seeing someone, or had her eyes on somebody else. You don't just wake up one day and decide to throw your whole marriage into the deep end. Unless there's something or someone pulling you away. At first, I thought maybe she'd come to her senses. I gave it time, weeks passed, but things only got worse. She was colder, distant, like I was just another piece of furniture in the house. She barely talked to me, and when she did, it felt forced. Like she was counting the seconds until the conversation ended. It wasn't even worth trying to fix it anymore. I couldn't shake the feeling that she was already gone. So I made the decision, divorce. It wasn't easy, but at that point, I couldn't see another way out. What's the point of staying married to someone who's already halfway out the door? I thought deciding to end the marriage was the hard part, but I had no idea what was coming next. The custody battle. Justina fought like her life depended on it. Not for me, not for us, but for Caleb. She made it her mission to make me look like the bad guy. According to her, I was inflexible, controlling, and emotionally distant. The court, they ate it up. It didn't matter that I'd been a good father or that I tried to keep the family together. In the end, she won primary custody. I was left with scraps, limited visitation rights, and a constant ache in my chest every time I thought about Caleb. I tried to stay connected, though. I called, I sent gifts, cards, letters, anything to remind him I was still here. But she shut me out. She wouldn't pick up the phone, wouldn't give him the letters. I started to feel like I was disappearing from my own son's life. And then, not even a month after we separated, I saw him. Some guy hanging around her place. You could tell he was comfortable, the way he carried himself, walking out of the house like it was his. And then I saw Caleb with him. They were laughing, playing catch in the front yard. Like this stranger was his dad. That broke me. It wasn't just about Justina moving on so quickly, although that stung more than I want to admit. It was seeing my son with another man, acting like I didn't exist. All the years I spent loving him, raising him, and being there for him could be replaced just like that. I wanted to march up to that house, to tell Caleb I was still his dad. But what could I do? Justina had control. She had the court's support, and she made sure to remind me of it every chance she got. So I buried the pain, I poured everything into my work. It was the only way to keep myself from drowning in the weight of it all. Because when you lose your family like that, and when you lose your son like that, you either find something to hold on to, or you let the pain swallow you whole. A year after the divorce, Justina took me back to court. She wanted more child support. She claimed the money I was already paying wasn't enough to take care of Caleb. I was furious. It wasn't just about the money. It felt like she was using Caleb as a tool to get back at me. I had been trying to stay in my son's life, but every effort I made was blocked. She ignored my calls, didn't let Caleb visit, and even kept the gifts I sent him from reaching him. I knew this wasn't just about finances, it was control. Thankfully, my lawyer was prepared. He brought up everything Justina had been doing to keep me from Caleb. The missed calls, the blocked visits, the unopened gifts. The court listened. For once, it felt like they saw through her games. The judge ruled in my favor, and I'll never forget what they said to her. You cannot gatekeep a child from their father. They put a visitation schedule in place. And for the first time in a long time, I had a chance to be a real part of Caleb's life again. That first visit with Caleb was awkward. He barely looked at me at first and kept his distance, like I was a stranger. And in some ways, I guess I was. It had been a year, an entire year of him hearing who knows what from Justina about me. I could see it in his eyes, he didn't trust me. But I wasn't giving up. I knew this wasn't his fault. I started small, we played video games together, ones he liked. When he visited me, I let him win sometimes, and other times he crushed me. We watched movies, ate his favorite food, and just hung out. Slowly, I saw him start to relax. He'd laugh at my bad jokes or tell me about his school projects. Those moments meant everything to me. I could feel the walls between us starting to come down, brick by brick. Rebuilding that bond wasn't easy, and it wasn't quick. But every smile, every conversation, every time he called me Dad without hesitation. It was worth all the pain I'd gone through to get there. Caleb and I had lost a lot of time, but I was determined to make sure we'd never lose each other again. It was a Saturday morning, and I had come to pick Caleb up for the weekend. Usually, the routine was simple. She'd have him ready, standing by the door. And I'd barely get a hello before she closed it behind him. But this time was different. When I rang the doorbell, Justina opened the door and asked me to come inside. She said Caleb wasn't ready yet, that she needed a few minutes to get his things together. I paused for a second. She had never invited me inside since the divorce, not once. Honestly, it felt weird, but I didn't want to make a scene in front of Caleb. So I said, "All right," and stepped in. The house hadn't changed much. I stood awkwardly near the doorway, trying to keep things polite but distant. Then she walked into the living room and said, "Dre, can we talk for a moment?" Her tone caught me off guard. It wasn't defensive or cold like it usually was when we interacted. It was softer, almost nervous. I hesitated but nodded, figuring I'd hear her out. She motioned for me to sit down, and that's when she started. "I made a mistake," she said. Her voice was shaky, and she wouldn't look me in the eye. I thought I knew what I wanted, but I didn't. I stayed quiet, letting her speak. She went on to tell me how things had fallen apart with the guy she was seeing. Apparently, he had been abusive, controlling, manipulative, and worse. She didn't go into every detail, but what she said was enough. I could see the exhaustion on her face, the pain she'd been hiding. "I was wrong about everything," she continued. "About leaving, about asking for what I asked for. I see that now, and I miss us, Dre. I miss what we had. I want us to try again, for Caleb, for us." I sat there, stunned. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This was the same woman who had torn our family apart. Who had kept my son from me, who had moved on so quickly it made my head spin. And now she wanted to come back, after everything. I took a deep breath and said, "Justina, no." My voice was calm but firm. "I don't hate you. I don't even hold on to the anger anymore. But I can't go back. I can't risk putting myself in that place again. Caleb is my focus now. He deserves a father who's strong enough to move forward, not one who's stuck in the past." She looked at me, like she didn't understand. Like she thought I would just say yes, and everything would magically go back to how it was. But I couldn't do that, not for her, not even for the memory of what we used to have. When she finally got up and walked away, I felt a strange mix of emotions. Relief, sadness, closure. I didn't owe her anything anymore, not after all that had happened. My job was to be there for Caleb, to rebuild what we'd lost, and give him the stability he deserved. A few minutes later, Caleb came running out with his bag, excited for our weekend together. And in that moment, I knew I was making the right choice. Losing her was painful, I won't lie about that. But losing Caleb, that was a different kind of pain, like losing a part of myself. I used to sit in my apartment, staring at the little toys he'd left behind after his visits. I have him back in my life, it's not perfect. Rebuilding that connection hasn't been easy. But slowly, day by day, we're finding our way. Whether it's helping him with his homework, kicking a ball around in the park, or just watching cartoons together. Those little moments mean everything to me. As for Justina, she made her choices, and so did I. I've let go of the anger, not for her sake, but for mine and for Caleb's. He deserves a father who's present, not someone who's stuck in the past. And honestly, for the first time in years, I'm at peace with where I am. My focus is on being the dad Caleb deserves, and that's a job I won't fail at. But what do you think? Did I handle it the right way? Would you have done anything differently if you were in my shoes? I'm curious to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below. And if you're going through something similar, let me tell you this, it's tough, but you can get through it. Focus on what matters most and take it one step at a time, you've got this. Thanks for sticking with me through this story. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if this resonates with you. Your support means the world, and who knows, maybe sharing this will help someone else who needs to hear it.